If you're a B2B business owner who thinks Meta ads doesn't work for you, you're leaving millions of dollars on the table. And I can prove it. I've heard it all. My audience isn't on Facebook. My audience isn't on Instagram. Meta only works for e-commerce businesses. Meta only works for info businesses. Doesn't LinkedIn make more sense for B2B businesses? These assumptions are costing you a fortune. And today I'm going to show you exactly how you're wrong. And more importantly, how to fix it. By the end of this video, you'll understand why Meta is quite literally the most powerful advertising platform on the planet for B2B businesses, and why some of the smartest entrepreneurs in the world are quietly dominating on these platforms while you're overpaying for clicks on LinkedIn or wasting time in the DMs. If you don't know who I am, my name is Saeed Chowdhury. I'm the founder here at SRC Growth Partner, an advertising firm that helps B2B and professional services firms scale their high-ticket, high-value offers through paid advertising. We've generated millions in revenue for our clients utilizing advertising strategies specifically designed to convert cold traffic through Meta ads, Google ads, and even LinkedIn ads. Before I get into it, if you want to check out what we do in a bit more detail, as usual, I have my website linked in the description. Feel free to go there and watch the video on the landing page to get a better feel of what we do and how we might be able to help you. Without further ado, let's jump into it. Okay, so let me just start with a story. So last year, I talked to a founder running a $2 million B2B consulting business. Exceptionally smart guy, but his entire client acquisition strategy was around referrals and networking events. He had previously tried LinkedIn ads and Google ads, but it wasn't exceptionally successful. And so he focused primarily on what he knew was working. He was convinced his CFO and VP level buyers weren't scrolling Instagram or weren't on Facebook. 6 months later, after finally testing Meta, he was generating leads 1/3 of the cost of LinkedIn with higher conversion rates. Same audience, better results, lower cost. So what changed? Nothing about his audience, right? It was only his assumptions. Here's the thing. B2B founders have built an entire mythology around Meta ads that simply isn't true. Let me break down the 5 biggest myths I hear constantly. Okay, so the number one myth is quite simply my audience doesn't live on Meta. And if I had $1 for every person that said this to me, I'd be a billionaire, right? But it's quite simply the most common thought process when it comes to thinking about advertising. You naturally lean towards more LinkedIn and Google. Why? Because B2B buyers, you expect them to be there. But do you really think your audience doesn't have a Facebook or Instagram account or even a WhatsApp account, and that they've never scrolled reels during their lunch break? Or they don't doom scroll Instagram before bed or watch that instead of watching something on the TV. Let's be real, if your ideal client has a LinkedIn account, which they definitely do if you're targeting B2B businesses, they almost certainly have a Facebook and Instagram account too. The difference is what they're actually doing on each platform. LinkedIn is where they're in work mode. Meta is where they're in human mode. Scrolling, consuming content, looking to be entertained, and yes, learning about business solutions. Actually, let me jump into a few statistics for you so you can get an idea of really the power of Meta. Okay, so this is an article from InBeat from August 2025, right? And these are key meta statistics from 2025 that I think will help illustrate my point on how important Meta is as a platform going into 2026 for B2B businesses, right? So first of all, Meta's family of apps, that is Facebook, that's Instagram, and that's WhatsApp, right? Average 3.43 billion daily active users in March 2025, which is from the date of filming today. We're in February 2025, less than a year ago, right? And that's up 6% year over year. Then you have Meta's top line revenue of $178 billion, right? And in 2024, they earned more than $160 billion just from advertising, which makes up the bulk of its total revenue, which then gives you a point to really think about what is Meta actually? Is it Facebook? Is it Instagram? Is it the social media platform? Or is it actually an advertising platform? If the bulk of its revenue is coming from advertising, it quite simply is the main way it makes money. And so if it's making money through that, you need to consider it as an advertising platform. And it has your market, it has the data needed to be able to get in front of your ideal customer profile, right? And think about it logically, right? So if Meta made the bulk of its revenue from advertising, it is incentivized to do better and better for you in advertising. So you come back and pay them more, right? And if they're growing year over year, then it tends to show that they're doing the right things, right? So, according to Statista, Facebook was the first to exceed 1 billion registered accounts and now has over 3 billion monthly active users. I think it's now up to 3.43 billion. And then the same Statista report also notes that Instagram and WhatsApp each stand at 2 billion monthly users each. There's a few more stats here, but I think there's a couple more that I wanted to run through. Facebook's largest US user group is actually aged between 25 and 34, which, if you think about it, is quite simply a sweet spot in the market, which actually might surprise a lot of people. You're probably thinking a lot of Facebook's daily active users are probably in their 50s and plus. Well, that's not quite the case, right? So if we scroll down a little bit more, another statistic which is really useful, I think it's down here somewhere. Yeah, this is the one. So Giraffe Social also reports that Facebook's global audience is 19% aged 18 to 24, 31% aged 25 to 34, and then 16, 10%, and 24% from 35 onwards, right? And so if you think about it, so 50% of its audience is 35 plus, and then 50% is 35 below. But if you're getting 31% of that in the 25 to 34 range, that means that real B2B buyers are within the range of 25 onwards. You're getting really young entrepreneurs now, really exceptional businesses that are being run by exceptional individuals, 31% onwards. So more than 80% of all the users just on Facebook are older than 25 years old, which probably blows your mind a little bit because that's not what a lot of people think, right? And then scrolling up to here, this might be helpful as well. Facebook ads reach in the United States has equaled 56.8% of the total population. So this is really just giving you an understanding of the extent of how big Meta ads is and Facebook ads is in general. And then this article, powered by Search, states a few additional facts that we can run through, but just under a quarter of the world's population are daily active users on Facebook. Users in the US spend about 30 minutes per day using Facebook, which equates to about 20 hours a month. Over 50% of all Facebook users, as we discussed, between the ages of 18 to 34. And then you've got here Facebook for business, right? So B2B businesses. Globally, over 200 million businesses are using Facebook to connect with customers. And a report by the GovLab identified that around 1.8 billion people are active in Facebook groups each month. Facebook has a global advertising audience of over 2.2 billion. And then B2B decision makers spend 74% more time on Facebook than other users. A Databox survey reveals that while Facebook ranks as the second most effective social platform for engaging with leads, it's number one for driving traffic. And that's another thing that I'm going to touch into, but it's a really important factor to actually, if you're looking to drive traffic, it is quite simply a cheat code for your business. And understanding that if you are able to drive traffic, the next thing that you need to be focusing on once you understand how to drive traffic is quite simply how to convert that traffic into actual closed deals and paying customers, right? I think that's it for this article. Okay, so the second myth that I always hear is Meta only delivers low quality leads, right? This one actually drives me crazy because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you run terrible ads with weak targeting and a generic lead magnet, of course you'll get awful leads, right? That's not actually a Meta problem. That's an advertising system mechanism problem, right? I've seen B2B service businesses generate qualified leads from Meta that converts at 20 to 30% to sales calls, right? The difference, they actually understand their audience and craft offers that resonate, that actually speak to a pain point. You thinking that it should be as simple as, hey, this is me, I exist, give me money, is quite simply pure entitlement, right? You need cold traffic optimized offers, which is essentially an introductory or an attraction offer, right? Without this, then cold traffic becomes exceptionally difficult. You need a cold traffic optimized offer on top of a lifetime value of at least $5,000, going up to minimum $15,000, right? If you do not have those two dialed in, you need a cold traffic optimized offer, which is essentially an introductory or attraction offer. And also you need a client lifetime value of at least $7,000 to $15,000, right? If you do not have these two things dialed in or correct, advertising will not work for you. Okay, so let's jump into the myth 3, which is B2B growth comes from relationships and referrals. I hear this again. Sure, relationships matter, they're important. But let me ask you this. How's that strategy actually scaling for you? Can you predict your revenue next quarter based on referrals? Can you turn up the dial when you need more clients? Without a doubt, building relationships are a fundamental part of B2B business growth, right? But they're capped at the number of people you have in the organization running business development. If it's just the founder, it's capped at you. That means you do it yourself and or you continue to hire people to get them to focus on business development. The average salary of a business development director in the US is $137,000, right? That's 11.5K a month you're paying for them to bring in business with no predictability. That's not even including benefits, training, and holidays. When you break it down, it's actually a far more costly one. Meta Ads gives you a predictable and scalable acquisition system. It helps you drive traffic to what your offer is. Simply put, you are purchasing eyeballs. And if you were to spend the same 11.5K a month on ads, or even half that, you could predictably be bringing in qualified leads for yourself to close, or you could bring in and hire a commission-based closer to actually close for you, right? And that way you can literally decide on Monday that you want 50 qualified leads, and by Friday, you've made it happen, right? I've heard this myth 4. Google and LinkedIn ads make more sense for B2B. Well, Google and LinkedIn have their place. I'm not saying abandon them, but LinkedIn's cost per click for B2B audiences are often $15 to $30 per click, sometimes higher. Google depends on quite simply the search volume of your specific niche, may or may not even exist at the volume you're looking for. With Meta, you can reach the exact same decision makers for $2 to $5 per click with interest-based and lookalike targeting. Same person, different context, fraction of the cost, and much more sophisticated in your approach. And myth 5, Meta is only for e-commerce brands. Well, this is where it gets interesting. If Meta only worked for e-commerce, right, why does someone like Alex Hormozy have 5 million followers on Instagram? Why does every major B2B thought leader build their audience on these platforms? Because business people are on Meta. They're consuming business content, they're learning, they're growing, and yes, they're buying B2B services. If you just look at Alex Hormozy's recent book launch, which generated him $100 million, he was selling B2B consulting services on top of the actual book sales, right? And that's how he was able to get higher and higher average order values because a certain percentage of each of his audience were willing to pay for the B2B consulting services. So that in itself proves the point that your audience are on Meta. It's just about understanding that you need a clear mechanism to be able to convert the eyeballs that you generate on these platforms. Now, let me tell you what's actually true about Meta and why it's the most powerful advertising platform on planet. Firstly, Meta has unmatched data and targeting capabilities. It has 15 billion data points on intent signals for its 3.43 billion users, right? And here's an interesting factor. Most people want to know, what's WhatsApp got to do with this ecosystem? Well, WhatsApp is an end-to-end encrypted platform, right? You can't actually access the data and information within conversations because it's end-to-end encrypted. But because WhatsApp is actually owned by Meta, the data, the information that they can put through their Facebook and Meta systems and their algorithm essentially allows Meta to take these data points and bulk information, right? Add it to its essential AI brain. And by doing so, what it essentially does is it learns more about its users and your behaviors. And it's quite simply so sophisticated now, it's insane. You can target CFOs at companies with 50 to 200 employees in the manufacturing industry who have engaged with business growth content in the last 30 days. That's not e-commerce targeting, that's laser-focused B2B targeting. Secondly, your audience is definitely on Meta. They're just in discovery mode. Here's the thing that most B2B founders actually miss. People aren't on Meta looking for solutions. They're in discovery mode. They're open, they're relaxed, they're scrolling, there's less sales resistance. And actually, that's an advantage for you. On Google, people are problem aware and comparing solutions. Competition is much more fierce. And on LinkedIn, people are skeptical of ads and DMs because They're in work mode, right? I'm sure you've got hundreds and hundreds of DMs over the last 6 months, and it's just ignore, ignore, ignore. On email, people have been bombarded with so many emails now that most people will just send you to spam. And on Meta, you can catch someone's attention with valuable content, educate them about a problem they don't even know they had yet, and even position yourself as a solution before they even start actively searching. This is what marketers call demand creation or demand generation, and it's infinitely more powerful than demand capture, which is something like Google, where you're essentially capturing the demand already out there. I speak about these concepts in a little bit more detail in one of my other videos where I talk about the buyer's pyramid. And you can check the video out here, it's somewhere on the screen. But essentially, what I talk about in that video is the concept of the buyer's pyramid, where essentially 3% of the market is actually actively looking for your services right now, and 97% of that market actually isn't. And so, really being able to tap into the cold market or the actual 97% is the cheat code for scaling. So, check out that video. You can get a bit more detail there. Number three, the cost efficiency is undeniable. Let's talk numbers. On LinkedIn, you might pay $25 per click and around $150 to $300 per lead for B2B audiences. On Meta, I consistently see $3 to $8 per click and $30 to $80 per lead for the same quality of prospect, right? That means that you can run 3 to 5 times more traffic on the same budget, more tests, more data, faster optimizations, better results, right? And we actually ran this exact test where we ran a LinkedIn campaign and a Meta campaign, the exact same creatives, the exact same strategies, and we got 100x more leads coming from Meta than we did on LinkedIn. If you want to check that video out, I've got it somewhere on the screen. Check that out because it's a really interesting finding, especially for B2B business owners. The next one is creative flexibility drives engagement, right? Meta is a visual platform. You can use video, carousels, stories, and reels, all formats, right? That LinkedIn and Google can't actually match. This matters because B2B buyers are still humans who actually respond to compelling creative, right? Well-produced 30-second video explaining a complex problem can outperform any text ad. A carousel showcasing client results builds trust instantly. You have creative tools at your disposal that other platforms simply don't offer, right? And number 5, which I don't have in the screen right now, is the proof is in the pudding. If Meta didn't work for B2B, why do the smartest operators in the space use it? Alex Hormozi built a $100 million portfolio largely on the back of Meta ads. Countless B2B SaaS companies scale exclusively on Meta. High-ticket coaching businesses, consulting businesses, agencies, they're all using Meta successfully. The difference between them and the founders who say Meta doesn't work for B2B, they actually learned how to use the platform properly. So this is exactly how you can actually make Meta ads work for you and your B2B service business, right? And number 1 is quite simply the most important part of any kind of advertising funnel for you to do. If you do not fix this, there is no point doing anything else because it's just not going to work for you. And that is having a front-end attraction offer. Right. So this is something what we call a cold traffic optimized offer, something of value that is low risk enough for someone to come in and make the punt, but at the same time works for you in bringing more clients and customers into your ecosystem so you can actually understand how to close them and how to upsell them and make more in the lifetime value of the client rather than just looking for it as a one-time sale, right? So for example, if you're a tax planning or tax advisory firm or office, the offer might be something to do with an audit, right? Or we will save you X amount of tax in 10 days or something like that, right? And the audit might be, they would come in, they would give you your books and you would look to save them, let's say a promise of $20,000, $30,000 in tax, right? And let's say that the fee for that would be $3,000. The risk reversal element of this offer would be something like, if we don't get you that 20,000 or 30,000, we would pay you back that 2 or 3K that you would pay us for the work, right? And essentially what this does is it makes sure that you get paid up front to be able to do the work. But secondly, what it does is that they actually get value back as well because they will save $20,000 or $30,000. And if they don't, they get their money back and you go on with your day. But at the same time, if you can save them, let's say 15, 20, or even you do more or less, depending on how you're able to actually save them money, they will turn around and say, okay, well, my current existing tax planner or tax advisory firm or accountant isn't doing this for me. You can save me X amount. Let's work more together. And it's really about having a back end selling system to be able to convert more of those, right? So a front end offer like that is exceptionally attractive to someone because they will have a risk reversal. So there's no risk on them. You take the risk, but you still get paid up front, and it ensures that you actually provide value first. So that's an example of a front end attraction offer. And there's lots for different kinds of offers and different kind of firms that can be created specifically for cold traffic. If you're not doing something like this, and then you're saying, oh, the leads are poor quality, it's not working for me, you really need to go back and revisit the offer you are offering to them, right? Second, step two is fixing your creatives, right? Running actual direct response video ads with a sprinkle of static image ads, right? Direct response ads are ads that speak directly to the audience you are targeting. You are clearly outlining some kind of pain that they are experiencing, and then you're showing them that you understand what they are actually going through and have a clear call to action that tells them the exact next steps that you want them to take, right? It's so important to actually have this element that once you have an offer, actually having good, compelling creatives to get someone to actually believe that you can solve their problem is the next step. Following that, it's about optimizing your funnel, right? So don't send people to generic book a call pages. Create a funnel that qualifies leads, delivers value, and builds trust before asking for a meeting, right? I have a full-on system that we talk about in one of my other videos, which is you can see somewhere on the screen, which actually talks about the exact system that we use to be able to get you a full funnel that actually brings in qualified leads. So check that out. It's very detailed, so it's worth taking some time to watch that. Use lead magnets, application funnels, or low-ticket offers to filter out tire kickers and attract serious buyers, right? The quality of your leads are determined by your funnel, not the platform, right? You can train and condition the platform to bring you certain types of leads. But if your funnel is not optimized, you will not get the quality of leads you are looking for. You can get $10 million businesses, $20 million businesses on calls from ads. It is absolutely possible. I have seen it. We have done it. But you need the funnel to be able to do it. Step 4, test creatives relentlessly. So there's been a new update on Meta. There's lots of videos out there talking about it. I'm sure I'll talk about it on this channel at some point, but essentially it's called the Andromeda update. It talks about having an exceptional amount of dynamic, different creatives so that the algorithm can actually work in your favor and test things out. So what works in LinkedIn doesn't work on Meta. You test video, you test static images, you test different hooks, test founder stories, client results, client testimonials, education content. You really want to be testing a whole host of content, anywhere between 25 to 50 pieces of ad content every single month to ensure that you're actually making the most of your ad budget. Meta rewards fresh creative. Plan to refresh your ads every 2 to 3 weeks to avoid ad fatigue. And step 5 is quite simply give it time and budget. Right? You can't test Meta with $500 and 3 days. It's just not going to work. You have to give yourself a runway of at least 45 to 60 days to gather the data, optimize, and dial in your approach, right? Give yourself at least $150 to $200 per day on ads to be able to actually get the data required to be able to understand how to optimize going forward. You will, with that kind of budget, capture leads. And it's just really about the information and data you can get to be able to then optimize continuously. It's so rare to get things right immediately, but the key is to understand that advertising and marketing in general is all about testing. Testing, testing, testing. The more you test, the quicker you will get to the winning ads campaign and actually getting the results that you're looking for with your advertising. Too many founders test for a week, see mediocre results, and declare to the world that it doesn't work. That's like going to the gym twice and saying fitness doesn't work. We know that's not true, right? So just go, do it, give it time, give yourself a budget, work with that budget. So here's what it comes down to. The question isn't, does Meta work for B2B? The question is, am I willing to learn a new platform to scale my business predictably? Because here's the reality. LinkedIn is crowded. Everyone's running the same playbook. Google depends on search volume that you do not control, and referrals are unpredictable. Meta gives you access to billions of users, including your exact target audience. Costs that actually make sense The algorithm is so sophisticated right now, they quite simply just stopped making assumptions and started actually running tests. They stopped saying my audience isn't there and started asking, how do I reach my audience where they actually are? They stopped blaming the platform and started improving their offer, creative, and funnel. And the results: predictable lead flow, lower client acquisition costs, and scalable growth. That's what's available to you if you're willing to challenge your assumptions. So hopefully you've learned something today. You found this video useful. If you're interested in working together and learning how we might be able to implement meta ads into your client acquisition system and actually give you the predictable and scalable growth that you're looking for, feel free to go into the description, click the link, and then book a meeting through the landing page there. Watch the video if you want. Watch my other YouTube videos to educate you a little bit more on exactly what type of meta strategies work. And then we can go from there. If you're interested in watching more of the content that I'll be creating over the next few months, feel free to hit like and hit subscribe so that you get the notifications on when my content actually is posted, and then you can get on it straight away. But yeah, hopefully you found some value from this video, and I'll catch you on the next one.